back with another team analysis here. I believe this is the 5th video and 9th team analysis that I'll be doing. So if this is your guys' first one, I'll briefly mention how the scoring goes. There's 5 attributes there you'll see: offense, defense, speed, hazards, and momentum, and then of course the total. Each attribute is on a scale of 0 to 10, so 0 being the worst and 10 being the best, with a total of 50. So yeah, let's get into it. The participant that I'll be going over today is Sean D. He's a pretty seasoned draft player. He's been around in the NCPL for quite a long time now, or the National Competitive Pokemon League, you'll see there. So his draft teams generally are the same, or at least the same few Pokemon. Notably Zapdos, Darmanitan, and Hippowdon are usually what he likes to draft, and Stoutland if he can get it. So, we'll list the Pokemon that he's got here. He drafted a Zapdos, Hippowdon, Darmanitan, Serena, Murkrow, Hatterene, Skarmory, Tentacruel, Noivern, Sirfetch'd, Clawitzer, Stoutland. So, when I look at this team, and maybe when other people look at this team, you kind of look at it and you're like, doesn't look that scary. Yeah, Darmanitan, but But when you really break it down and you go into his team, he has some really solid Pokemon, and he's really he's really got high stats in offense, defense, and hazards. So we'll start by saying Zapdos is a really hard Pokemon to break. It's got that legendary speed tier, so for a defensive Pokemon, it's got a quite high of a speed. If you don't have somebody that can break it, it's just gonna outspeed you and roost you and pressure stall you. So it also has static too. Is that the ability, static? I think. Anyways, what the ability does is physical contact with it can paralyze you, which is really detrimental, especially if you're attacking it with a fast wall breaker or something like that. It can be really, really detrimental. So he's paired that with Hippowdon, I believe, were his first 2 drafts. Now, they both share an ice weakness, which is, I wouldn't say that's the greatest, but Hippowdon has such high bulk that he can afford to run some special defense EVs and tank 1 and in some cases 2 ice attacks and slack it off. So what Hippowdon really has to worry about is getting toxic. So then, he's got Darmanitan to wall break, he's got Clawitzer to wall break, and then, if everything else fails, he's got Sandrush, Stoutland sitting in the back there. So those are just a few mons, but I'll get more into them when I'm breaking down the scores and his attributes. So we'll start with offense. I rated his offense a 10. So it should be pretty clear why I rated it a 10. He's got Darmanitan, he's got Clawitzer, he's got Sandrush, Stoutland, and then if he can't outspeed his opponent, he's got Trick Room, Hatterene, which Clawitzer benefits from, Sirfetch'd benefits from. So he in his offense, he's also got First Impression from Sirfetch'd. So he's really covered a lot of holes that his team could have had. Had he not had Hatterene, I would probably drop his offense maybe a point or 2, and same with the speed. But Hatterene helps him that if his team is getting outsped, he can just Trick Room and stick to his slower mons. But this comes down to team building, of course, right? So offensively, like I was saying, he's got Darmanitan, he's got Clawitzer, he's got Stoutland, Sirfetch'd, Hatterene, and Noivern. So I would mention Murkrow, but I personally don't know a whole lot about Murkrow. I have played a lot of drafts and I've played a lot of Switch tournaments, but I don't really know too much about Murkrow. I feel like it's kind of a what do you call it? a cheese or a gimp is what I would say. He might pull this out and surprise somebody and catch a KO with it or something, or I'm not really sure what it does. So my apologies on that. I'm gonna stick to what I know on here though, and what I think is really really strong. So Darmanitan has the ability to wall break for a Stoutland clean or a Noivern cleanup, or in some cases a Hatterene Trick Room cleanup. The amount of damage that he can output with his team is tremendous. I mean, you got Sheer Force Darmanitan, and then you got Mega Pulse or Mega Launcher Clawitzer, who also got the new move Terrain Pulse. So he's also deterring people from setting up terrain because he can use the terrain against them as well. Psychic terrain is going to be a big no-no against him because Hatterene is going to be able to use Trick Room and then get psychic boosted attacks, and Cloudster is going to get terrain pulse boosted attacks that are psychic. So boosted by terrain and then boosted by Mega Launcher, it's really not going to be a fun time. So I also want to mention the Surfetched. Having Scrappy, it really alleviates his ghost problem with Stoutland. Stoutland, I believe, does have Scrappy too, but needs to run that Sand Rush with his Hippowdon. So having that Surfetched with Scrappy and First Impression is really gonna net some good revenge kills and surprise kills on ghosts, where he's gonna need something to switch in and it won't be able to be a ghost. So his fighting Pokemon is kind of unwalled, which is really really good. I believe Surfetch was actually quite a low tier pick as well, so I think he really capitalized on getting the points for that. I think it was only worth 3 or 2. I just want to double check because I know it was quite low and I was surprised it stayed so long. Because although I don't think he's the greatest Pokemon, I think he is, for what it was worth a lot. Yeah, Surfetch was worth 2 points. Like, I mean, that's crazy. 2 points. Let's just look at his attack stat really quick here. So, okay, yeah, like, this is ridiculous. Okay, so he's worth 2 points, guys. He has base 135 attack, so 400 around there. Base 95 defense, base 82 special defense, base 65 speed. I mean, he can utilize the Trick Room if he wants. Gets Scrappy, has close combat, has knockoff, First Impression, Brave Bird, has Defog. I didn't know that. Gets Grassy Glide. I didn't know that either. So that's going to be really useful actually against Daniel, having that Grassy Glide, and considering Daniel does have a Vaporeon there, so he'll be able to outspeed that Vaporeon. I don't know if it just naturally outspeeds it, but anyways, he's also got Dark Cover, yeah, with knockoff. He does have Steel Wing. I wouldn't recommend it. He has Sword Stance as well, which is a little bit scary. That's really all he's got. I mean, he does have Brick Break to break screens. But anyways, the set that was given earlier, Close Combat, Knockoff, First Impression, Brave Bird, is just a really great set. He's not walled by Ferrothorn. He is a little bit walled by like flying types, bulky flying types, like something like we'll say like a Moltres or Zapdos if it was versing him. I think Corviknight could probably tank some hits from this thing, depending if it's banded or not, and if the Corviknight's EVs are in defense or special defense. So I do want to see if it can tank that, because if not, I feel like this was it's still a really great pickup. I'm just curious what it would be walled by. Surfetched and Corviknight. Yeah, no, Corviknight can't really take much from it. It gets I mean, Corviknight could probably kill him with a Brave Bird anyway. If he's running Brave Bird. Yeah, so Corviknight does well against him. I wouldn't say he could switch in on the close combats because it does 57 to 68. He could switch in and roost, and then Brave Bird and out roost. He could switch in and Brave Bird and just kill him because Corviknight does outspeed it. So, but I wouldn't say it's a wall for him. Anyways, back to the team here, and then last is I'll mention too. I do want to mention Stoutland's move pool, which is absolutely huge. I think this is one of his best complementing Pokemon to his team. Stoutland it works well in the sand. It works well without the sand. His speed tier is okay. I think it's under 300, around 289. But his move pool and his bulk allows him to usually survive a hit. But yeah, I just wanted to mention the move pool really quickly about Stoutland. If you guys are versing the Stoutland, really make sure that you look up his move pool because he does learn a lot of moves and he has quite a bit of coverage. So last in the offensive department is Noivern. Just your dragon type. Everybody really should have one. It is useful. Having that Draco Meteor is going to be great. He's got U-turn, he's got defog. Frisk is a really great ability in draft. It allows you to learn a lot about your opponent's team, and I expect him to be using that a lot. With the amount of people that are playing really, what do you say? I don't want to say stally, but really defensively, Infiltrator is going to be really important as well. So make sure you guys don't forget about that. I believe Noivern does have decent coverage as well, with Draco Meteor, Hurricane, Heat Wave, Psychic, Dark Pulse. I don't know what else he has, but I wanted to say with the introduction of Heavy Duty Boots, it allows you to run a defensive Noivern better, since you don't have to worry about rocks as much. If you guys were around a few drafts back, I did run a defensive Noivern to completely wall out a Mega Beedrill, and these are the kind of things that you can do in draft. And for a Noivern to be 2 points, was it 2 or 1 point? What was it? Where are you? Yeah, Noivern 2 points to have 375 speed, 280 special attack, decent HP, decent bulk stats. I think they were in the 70s, which is not bad. Combine that with HP EVs, he can tank a couple hits, and then of course he's got Roost, right? So, yeah, that's basically really it for his offensive Pokemon. An honorable mention, which I will say watch out for because this has a surprising amount of moves and a pretty big move pool, and that's Serena. So everybody looks at Serena. Well, I can't speak for everybody, but I would say a lot of people look at Serena as a defensive Pokemon because it's generally used like that in what I've seen with Rapid Spin and Aromatherapy. But it has a base 120 attack stat and its speed is 72 base, I believe. So it's not bad. Combine that with its move pool. It does have Queenly Majesty, which I never ran into the problem of Queenly Majesty until I had a Mamoswine sitting in front of it, ready to beat my opponent. That was the last Pokemon he had left, and I went to Ice Shard, and I totally forgot about Queenly Majesty because I've never seen it really usable. But don't forget about that. Queenly Majesty blocks priority moves, so she can't even be Ice Sharded. Or Sucker Punched, or Fake Out, or Extreme Speeded. So actually a really sneaky good Pokemon offensively. So, but moving on, I rated his defense a 9. Pretty easy to see how good his defense is. I mean, he's got Skarmory, he's got Zapdos, he's got Hippowdon, he's got Tentacruel, and he can run Noivern and Serena defensively as well. Forgot to mention Hatterene in offense. Offensive Trick Room, Calm Mind, Draining Kiss. Very scary Pokemon with Magic Bounce. So Anyways, I'll get back to the defense though. So, you know, having 1, 2, 3 ice weaknesses and one being ×4 is a little bit of an issue for his team. But you know, that all comes down to team building. I'm sure he's not going to be bringing those 3. If he does, I would say be very damn careful that somebody's not running an ice move. But that, and then he's got 1, 2. Where is it? He's got 1, 2. He's got 4 Thunderbolt weaknesses, or 4 electric weaknesses in Skarmory, Tentacruel, Noivern, and Cloudster. Now he's got that covered with Hippowdon, but it could be a problem to rely on Hippowdon that much if Sean decides to bring more than 1 electric weakness there, because that leaves Hippowdon susceptible to status and you know, chip damage, right? Or just getting the double switch out and then being able to break down his team like that. You know, defensively, his team's actually quite fast. On the defensive side, I mean, Tentacruel's got a really good speed tier for a defensive Pokemon. Same with Zapdos. Skarmory, not so much, but and Hippowdon, not so much. But to be able to switch out to Tentacruel and Zapdos when needed, that speed tier is going to be really helpful for him setting up spikes or just finishing off a Pokemon. The other thing that I will mention is he has 1, 2, only 2. That's not too bad. 2 Earthquake weaknesses. That's really not that bad, and it's between a defensive Pokemon and an offensive Pokemon. So his defense really comes down to who he's gonna bring, and the opponents really got to when they go to verse Sean, they got to really recognize the weaknesses, like I just mentioned, with a lot of his defensive Pokemon sharing weaknesses like Ice and Electric and things like that. So, oh, that's what it was. I was thinking about this earlier. No, it wasn't. What did I write down here? I could have sworn I wrote down a different weakness. It's not. Anyway, so his defense is good, but I will say that it doesn't appreciate status. He has one Pokemon to clean status up. Now he has status absorbers like excuse me, Tentacruel for Toxic and Zapdos for Paralysis, and I mean, you could have Braviary or Skarmory absorb Will-O-Wisp, but generally you wouldn't want that. But as you can see, the only person to clean status up is Serena. Now, Hatterene can block status by Magic Bounce, but it is a little bit problematic, especially if Hippowdon gets Toxic. You're going to see Sean get really predictable at that point to try and make sure his Hippowdon stays healthy and gets that Heal Bell, or that Aromatherapy off. If he doesn't have Serena, or you've seen a Serena's move pool and she doesn't have Aromatherapy, I would really recommend making sure that statusing his team is your #1 priority to breaking him down. Between, you know, Toxic, Protects, Subs, things like that. So moving on though, next is Speed. Now I rated his Speed a 7, and his Speed is pretty mediocre outside of Sandrush and Noivern, but Sandrush doubling speed is just is amazing to have. I mean, to have a Pokemon at 500 plus speed is always good. That, you know, outspeeds fast Choice Scarfers and outspeeds other slow Choice Scarfers, and allows you to you know, run Life Orb or something like that instead of Choice Scarf on somebody like Stolen. So You got Neuvern with 375, which is really good. That could be just enough, as much as he needs for his team. He does have Choice Scarf Darmanitan, and Darmanitan has the 317 speed tier anyway, which is not the greatest, but it's doable and functionable for his team if he decides to run Band instead of Scarf. I highly doubt it, but then you got Hatterene. So if everything goes wrong and his speed is not enough, he can rely on Hatterene to get a Trick Room up and have 3 turns not to rely on the speed of his team, and he can reverse the what do you call it? He can reverse it on the opponent, getting Trick Room up and using Clouditzer and using Sirfetch'd to his disposal. But outside of that, it's Tentacruel with medium speed, good for defense, but not a lot. Same with Zapdos and same with Serena. Speed tier is pretty easy to spot. The most problematic Pokemon for his speed is going to be that Stoutland in the sand. So if you get rid of sand, all you're going to have to worry about is Neuvern, and Neuvern's beatable with the Choice Scarf. So speed tier is okay. It's definitely better than average, but nothing like superior or anything like that. So next up is Hazards. I rated 10. Now he doesn't have as much hazards as he does. He has the same amount of hazards basically as Matt. And he's not running a complete stall team. So he's got hazards in Skarmory with Stealth Rock and Spikes. He's also got the ability to Whirlwind and Defog with Skarmory. So he's got hazards and hazard control in one Pokemon. Same with Tentacruel, hazards and hazard control with Rapid Spin and Toxic Spikes. It can also absorb Toxic Spikes, so another great pickup by Sean. Next up we have Hippowdon. Just sets up rocks. I mean, that's what it does. Sets up rocks, almost guaranteed every time it comes in, so unless he wants to get damage off instead. So but like I've said before, sometimes it is way better to get the damage off than set up rocks, depending on how the pace of the game is going. And then you got Hatterene with Magic Bounce. I mean, everywhere you look, Sean's either got to wait to get hazards up or get hazards out, or just completely block his opponent from setting hazards up, right? So and not to mention he's got Defog on Zapdos and Defog on Neuvern. So I mean, setting up hazards against Sean, I would say, is probably useless. He's got so many tools to get rid of it, and not very many Pokemon that it's gonna. I mean, Hippowdon's gonna be in the most, and the rocks aren't really a problem for Hippowdon. But with the amount of ways Sean has to get hazards off the field, I would just say the damage is almost more important on him, or getting a read on the Hippowdon switch rather than setting up rocks, because he's just going to end up switching out to something that's going to be able to tank on an optimal switch, and then he's going to defog them away and then be in an advantageous position against you. So if you're versing Sean, I really recommend damage over hazards and status over hazards. So for all that, that's definitely a 10. There shouldn't be any other team that's better than that. I mean, that's 5 ways to get rid of hazards, and 3 ways to set up hazards, 4 ways to set up hazards if you're counting Hatterene. So moving on, we got Momentum. So I rated his Momentum a 7, and I could rate it less, but the amount of momentum he gets from Sandrush Stoutland and Trick Room Hatterene is pretty good. I wouldn't say it's anything like Chris's team, where it's just go go go, and you're on your toes. You're like, holy fuck, what's he gonna U-turn to this time? Is he gonna parting shot? Is he gonna fake out? Is he gonna attack me? It's not like that. The momentum that Sean gets is kind of like a snowball effect. So if he goes in with Stoutland and the person doesn't know if Stoutland is banded or life orbed or whatever, they could end up, getting KO'd, and then they're like, oh fuck, well I don't have any other switches, and then here comes another KO, here comes 80%, here comes another KO, and the same goes with Trick Room. Hadarene sets up a Trick Room, starts really breaking down your team, and you're like, holy fuck, well when Trick Room's up, I don't have anything to deal with his Sand Rush, or when Trick Room's done, I don't have anything to deal with Darmanitan now. So you get what I'm saying. The momentum is a snowball effect of the added pressure from the Sand Rush and the Trick Room, and the amount of wall breakers he has, honestly. So it's better than average. It's nothing superior like Chris's momentum, and I believe somebody else I rated quite high on momentum. But his team is still a phenomenal rating at 43 total. That's 7 off perfect. I don't see a lot of holes in his team. The biggest holes that I do see is he has a big problem with statuses, in my opinion. And then he also has a notable ice weakness, a rock weakness between 3 Pokemon, and electric weakness between 1, 2, 3, 4 Pokemon as well. So those are my biggest points. Team building is going to be essential for Sean to clean up those weaknesses, but really no holes in his team that's going to be super exploitable. So he's going to be a tough opponent, as we've seen. I didn't want to provide information about his games. I'm trying to stay away from that, but he's proven to be a big threat with this team. So yeah, watch out for Sean, and good luck if you verse him, and good luck to Sean in the draft. And hope you guys enjoyed this one. I hope I'm getting a little bit better, and on to the next one. Thanks, guys. We are back with the 10th analysis, or the 5th episode for Rate My Team. Today I'm going to be looking at Vikram S. I don't want to mispronounce people's last names. I hope I'm not mispronouncing your first name, but yeah, we're going to go with Vikram here. If you guys are new to the episodes, the Rate My Team is out of 5 attributes you'll see there: offense, defense, speed, hazards, and momentum. These are the 5 things that I find are very core to creating a decent draft. Obviously there's way more things that go into drafting a team, and especially versing somebody, like weaknesses and move pools, things like that. So but we're going to kind of go over those things inside each of those attributes. Each attribute is out of 10 with a total score, maximum total score of 50. So lowest being 0, highest being 50. So start by listing what he drafted here: Tapu Bulu, Slowbro, Tornadus Eye, Ditto, Sceptile, Heatran, Scizor, Druddigon, Mega Banette, and Silvally Normal. So first off, the things that I see that are really good about his team already is he got Bulu, Slowbro, and Heatran, and all of them cover each other very, very well. Bulu able to absorb knockoffs, and same with Heatran. Bulu and Heatran both able to absorb Thunderbolts and Grass moves. And Heatran able to absorb Fire moves, Heatran able to absorb Steel moves, Bulu able to absorb Earthquakes, Bulu able to absorb Fighting, and Slowbro able to absorb Fighting. It's a very, very strong core draft by him, especially with one of them having Regenerator and the other one having Grassy Surge. All 3 of them are on the ground, so they all receive that Grassy Surge leftover type deal. So that's the first thing that I noticed that's really good about his team. He then drafts Ditto, Mega Scizor, and Druddigon. I feel like those are his next best Pokemon that he drafted. Ditto is just that anti-meta, anti-boost Pokemon that's really annoying to prepare for, because when you're preparing, you're like, holy fuck, well, if I scarf him, well, now he gets a scarfed, you know, or I bring Mega Sharpedo, well, he gets a scarfed Mega Sharpedo. Or I bring a scarfed, or I bring a, what do you want to, I bring a Hoopa, he brings a scarfed Hoopa. It's an annoying Pokemon to draft, to fight. So, then Drudigan's just really bulky. It's got rough skin. It's like a cheaper Garchomp, and I think that's a great draft pick by him. I think Drudigan was only worth 1 point. We'll get into that later, but I think he was only worth 1 or 2 points. Either way, he gets Glare. I don't know if he gets Toxic, but he has high attack, really high defenses, and then of course he's a Dragon type, so he gets resistances from Fire, Water, Grass, and Electric, I believe, all 4 of those. So it just, again, it's really fortifying that core up there, which I think is the point of Vikram's team. So the one thing I am noticing is his offense is not bad, but it's okay. He does have special attacking at his disposal if he wants it, but that would be on Slowbro. Slowbro did get the addition of Nasty Plot this gen, which is pretty big considering it's got Regenerator, so it can try and set up, and then if it's not working, he can just switch out and recover that HP. And then you got Heatran, who, you know, can be ran defensively or offensively. He's got legendary stats, so he's not really slow. He's not really fast, but he's not really slow. And then he's got insane bulk. So I mean, you know, you can run him in Modest. I think it's 390 Modest special attack. So that's quite good. There's a combine set with Mega Banette that you could utilize, and then you make a mixed Mega Banette set. Silvally can be run special. I'm not sure about Drudigan. And then you got Tornadus and Sceptile. Sceptile being the worst out of the whole bunch, just because it's very limited in move pool. Tornadus is okay. I mean, it's got a pretty decent move pool. Let me check real quick, because when I was looking at this Pokemon in draft, I think it actually had a pretty good move pool. I just want to look. Yeah, so we get Dark Pulse, Extra Sensory. Of course, we get Hurricane. You get Heat Wave. You get Icy Wind. You get Knockoff. You get Psychic. You get Sludge Bomb, and you get U-Turn. So I mean, it's good. And with the introduction of Heavy Duty Boots, it makes flying Pokemon like Tornadus that were quite low on the tier actually a lot better, because they don't have to worry so much about rocks, like they were before, where they were just kind of, you know, they were, you know, not as good as things like Tornadus T, because he can come in, take the rock damage, defog it away, and then get out and recover all that HP. So, but anyways, so that was my short introduction of what I'm noticing on his team already. But we'll start with offense. I gave him a 7. So you're gonna notice that I rated his whole team a 7, like every stat. And what I want to mention is there isn't really like a really weak point to his team, but his team is very anti-you. Like, he does not want to let you do what you want to do, and his team is all about stopping that. And then stopping that, putting pressure on you and making you stress, and, you know, ultimately make bad decisions. So, but yeah, I rated his offense a 7. That offense is certainly led by Bulu, Heatran, and Scizor. He can have Slowbro offensively, which is, you know, the option to have that is good in draft, because if Slowbro just has a great matchup, he could just run it offensively, and it has enough bulk to sustain itself. It has Slack Off, so I mean, Nasty Plot, Slack Off, Psychic Surf, that's not a bad stab combination. Or, you know, Surf Fire Blast, or I don't know, it's got a plethora of moves. I don't know if it gets Thunderbolt, but having Fire Blast, which I know it does have, and Ice Beam is really great coverage. So then you got Heatran, who can be run offensively. I mean, Magma Storm's quite annoying as it traps you. And then the last offensive option that I'm going to mention, because I can see Tornadus being run offensively, but he doesn't have really anything else to get rocks or screens away besides Silvally. If he brings them both, I definitely see Tornadus being the offensive one and Silvally being the defensive Pokemon. So the last one I'm going to mention is Scizor. Was left really long in the draft. I mean, surprisingly long. Where was it? I want to say it was like, I don't know, way past 5 picks, like 5th round, way past that. But yeah, he picked up Scizor. Scizor gets covered by a Heatran, so I mean that's perfectly fine to bring. Although they don't share that weakness, but it allows the opponent to just EQ if he wants to and call out the Heatran, which is a little bit scary. But yeah, he picks up Scizor. Scizor, strong U-turner, gets Bullet Punch, allows him to beat those fairy types with priority. The priority is very important in draft too. It can net him a lot of close calls and wins, where his team is outsped by electric terrain, Surge Surfer or Tailwind or Swift Swim, or just faster Pokemon in general. That Bullet Punch is going to be useful in that regard. So the ability to boost too. I mean, boosting is scary in draft because the thing is like you don't know what that opponent's going to bring. You have to always scout for these things, or suffer the consequences and get swept. And Scizor's absolutely capable of doing that after a Swords Dance. So with Swords Dance and then priority Bullet Punch, Technician boosted, Stab boosted, it's quite doable. So especially if you don't have like a hard resist for him. So that's something everybody's got to watch out for. That's really all I'm going to mention for offense. Mega Banette is an honorable mention because it's got quite high attack and quite high bulk. So one thing I would like to mention to Vikram is I definitely would like to see him run a Calm Mind, Arrest, Sleep Talk, Calm Mind, or Arrest, Sleep Talk, Curse Set. Mega Banette has actually decent bulk, so it's able to do. It's able to run that, and with Prankster, he gets that rest first, so that reliable recovery is really good. I think it gets. I think Sleep Talk is Prankster boosted as well, so Sleep Talk will always go first, meaning you could get a curse off first, or you could get an attack off first. So Vikram, if you're watching, I'd really like to see you do something like that. I've seen you run the Calm Mind and another odd set. I can't remember what it was, but I think when you brought the Mega Banette in those times, it died off very quickly. I think if you did the rest set and get it in on a good switch, I think you'd really be utilizing it well and make it a lot more of a threat. So that is one thing I want to mention really quickly. Sorry, excuse me guys, I have to deal with something. But as I was saying, with this Mega Banette, I would really like to see a Rest Sleep Talk set. He gets Prankster boosted Rest, Prankster boosted Sleep Talk, which gives him priority on any other move he has, Curse or Calm Mind, and then it gives him priority on the attack move. So that is a really neat tech that I saw from, who was it? Lord Envy. I saw him do this against Pokeaim, and it was countered in the end, but this was a really, really great tech bring by Lord Envy. He did this with Grimmsnarl, so doing that Rest Sleep Talk set would also deter status, because your team does have a little bit of an issue with status. You don't really have any great ways to deal with status outside of maybe Sceptile and Bulu. Let's check. I think both of them learn aromatherapy, but I'm not 100% on that. So let's check here. So Bulu doesn't get aromatherapy. Neither does Sceptile. So I'm seeing a big issue with status on your team. I think if you brought that Mega Banette with the Rest Sleep Talk set, it would really help you deal with things like Toxic and T-Wave and burns. So yeah, I'm not going to stick around too long on that, but I just would really like to see that from your team. So his offense is a 7. That's, good. That's above a 5, which I would say is average. And like I was saying, his offense is, and his team is very anti-you. He does not want to let you do you want to do. And I know that sounds like, well, obviously you don't want to let the opponent do what he wants to do. I mean, like, he doesn't want you to set up. He's got Ditto for that. He doesn't want you to break any of his walls. He's got an insanely strong core with a decent amount of momentum. So it's really making the opponent think and putting pressure on him on how to break his core and how to get rid of Ditto. So moving on to defense, I rated a 7. So now, I mean, looking at it, I think I could have rated his defense higher because that core is so damn strong. My only thing that puts it lower, I think what I would rate his defense, if he had a way to deal with status, I would probably rate it a 9, because that Bulu Slowbro Heatran core is really, really good. I don't see a problem with any of that. I mean, one of the things that's covered too is freaking poison. It's covered by Heatran too. Like, that core just covers everything, and then it's got Regenerator with Slowbro. It's just, you got rocks on it too. It's a phenomenal core. So, but yeah, what's bringing his defense down in my eyes is status. Bulu gets Toxic, check him off. Slowbro gets Toxic, check him off. And then that's really gonna hurt Heatran too, because once that Bulu and Slowbro go down, or one of them, I mean, you're losing Earthquake checks. And, the only other Earthquake check is that Tornadus, if Bulu and Slowbro go down. So, I mean, you could say Drudigan and Scizor too, but you understand what I mean, right? So, status is a huge issue. I mean, Scizor gets burned, well, you have no Heal Bell, no Aromatherapy. Check Scizor off. Mega Banette gets burned and you have a physical set, check Mega Banette off. Drudigan gets burned, his utility goes down. Tornadus gets T-Wave, well, cross Tornadus off. All it's got is Prankster after that. So that is a really big issue. I think you could draft, maybe a Pokemon with Heal Bell or something to absorb, or at least bring Mega Banette with Rest and Sleep Talk to absorb status for your team, because that's a huge kick in the nuts on your defense. So one of the things I will mention is he does have Tornadus for defogging, which is great defensively. Drudigan, Glare, Stealth Rocks. So defensively, he's got really good Pokemon. I just feel like they suffer a lot from status. Last thing I'll mention on defense is phenomenal core by Vikram. I think he's got one of the best cores in the draft right now. It's just a super great trio. Speed, I rated a 7. Now, so you look at his team. His team isn't that fast, but the reason that I rated a 7 is he's got Bullet Punch, he's got Prankster, and Tornadus does have a phenomenal speed tier at 350. And then you got Prankster on Mega Banette, and like I have said like 300 times before this in the offensive section, if Mega Banette runs Rest Sleep Talk, that is priority on whatever Sleep Talk moves it runs. So he could just run 2 Sleep Talk or two physical attacks in that Sleep Talk. Then he gets 2 priority attacks if he doesn't want to run a boost. I mean, that's pretty strong. And I think what is Mega Banette's typing? I can't remember if it's just 1 or if it's duo. Okay, yeah, so it's Ghost. So I mean, well, let's fire off neutral fucking neutral what could we run here? neutral phantom forces that are prankster boosted by sleep talk, or neutral shadow balls prankster boosted because sleep talk, shadow claw. I mean, like, it's just it's really good, and I think that's really something maybe he's overlooked so far about his Mega Banette, and I think it's something that everybody's going to overlook versing Mega Banette, because generally we've seen Mega Banette used as just like a, you know, a suicider with Destiny Bond. That is another great set for Mega Banette, and a really anti-U is hey, you're getting a little bit out of control. Your Mega Charizard X is boosted a little bit too much. Well, have a D bond, have a Destiny Bond. You know, I'm gonna do this Destiny Bond until you decide to attack me. So that is why I've rated his speed tier at a 7. I'm not even gonna bother mentioning Sceptile. I think Sceptile's a really average Pokemon. I just want to go over Sceptile because I did this with Cursola, and I completely missed some of its utility. Yeah, so okay, it has Unburden, and that is actually really good with Bulu to get that Unburden boost. But my issue is Sceptile doesn't have anything that's like you know, amazing coverage. I mean, he's got Earthquake. I guess he's got decent coverage. You know, I'm not giving Sceptile enough. Yo, what the fuck? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's his attack that is low. 85. That is kind of low. I mean, his physical coverage is actually pretty decent. His special coverage is absolute doo-doo though. So I would recommend running the Unburden with a physical set and Sword Stance maybe. But that's not bad. That's a great little tech that he brought, just in case he needs to outspeed somebody's team in terrain or something like that, right? So that's, yeah. That even further bolsters my 7 that I rank his speed. Could arguably say 7.5 with that Unburden. But with the coverage that Sceptile has, it's pretty good. Rock Slide, Rock Tomb for those fire types. He's got C-Bomb, of course, or Leaf Blade. He does have Earthquake. He has Brick Break to break screens, which is nice, considering a lot of people drafted screen Pokemon. He also has Dragon Claw, and I believe he has one more. He does also have Acrobatics, so he could run that Grassy Seed Acrobatics as well to make sure he's not walled by something like Venusaur. So quite versatile actually for draft. That Unburden set really makes him a lot better. So clearly Vikram knows what he's drafting and knows what he's doing when he's drafting those Pokemon. So it's looking great so far. So yeah, so far we've got 3 7s for Vikram. We're moving on to hazards. I rated a 7 as well. Because it's better than average, but it's not like, whoa, we need to, like, it's like Matt's hazards or something. We got spikes, we got toxic spikes, we got you know, toxic, we got, you know, stealth rock here, stealth rock there, stealth rock here. But anyways, Vikram has stealth rock on Heatran. He has stealth rock in Drudigan. He's got hazard control with Prankster, hazard control with Tornadus, which is really good if Tornadus is on its last legs, and getting those rocks off is super important. Well, you got a Prankster Defog, that's going to be going before everything. I'm curious though, would Prankster Defog be blocked by a Dark type? Because it essentially lowers their evasiveness, so I wonder if that would, like, affect them and be blocked by Dark type. So if you guys know, please let me know, because I am curious about that. But then he's also got Defog with Silvally as well. I mean, his team doesn't really care for rocks or spikes anyway. You know, having like things like Slowbro, Bulu, and Heatran. But you know, decent, better than average hazard control, better than average hazards, and the reason that it's better than average is because Heatran is like like Landorus, every time it comes in, it's more than likely getting Stealth Rocks up in front of any Pokemon, really, except, like a Earthquaker or close combat person. And same with Judican. Judican being even easier to get rocks up, unless you got an Ice type, which is, actually not as common as you'd think. And people usually are afraid of getting the Glare as well, so pretty easy Stealth Rock setup for him. Not much more to say. He doesn't really have much more hazards outside of that. You could say Leech Seed from Sceptile and Bulu. A Leech Seed set from Bulu is actually quite annoying. Running a defensive Leech Seed, Bulk Up, or Swords Dance set is actually insanely annoying. With leftovers and Grassy Surge, it's really fucking hard to break that Bulu. He's just got phenomenal stats. So moving on, we'll go to Momentum. I rated a 7. His momentum's okay. He's got U-turn in Tornadus, U-turn in Scizor, and I think that's it. Oh, he's got Parting Shot and U-turn in Silvally normal as well. So overall, I mean, it's a little bit better than average because Scizor gets that slow U-turn and he gets in a Pokemon for free, which is great for Bulu. And if he needs to get Slowbro's health up, he gets a Slowbro in for free. Get Slowbro's health up, switch a Slowbro out, and then you see what I'm saying, rinse and repeat type deal. And then passing those Parting Shots and U-turns over to things that are just going to be really useful, like getting Ditto in for free without costing him a life on a boosted Pokemon if Scizor lives it. Gets that free U-turn, and then gets in a Choice Scarf boosted copied Pokemon. So not bad. Vikram's team's more about slowing you down and being annoying to you rather than him having high momentum type deal like Chris or something like that, where it's like U-turn this, U-turn that, fake out here, Parting Shot there. It's more about U-turning and slowing you down. So his momentum's good in that way, as he keeps the momentum on his side and he usually halts your momentum. You're boosting with somebody, well, I'm gonna send in Ditto. Sends in Ditto, okay, well now your momentum's back to 0. You're starting from square one again. So that is kind of what I mean by that. In rating his momentum a 7, it's kind of like anti-momentum, and I mean, I'm not gonna rate that worse because it's slowing the opponent down and it's keeping momentum away from the opponent, which essentially would be giving momentum to Vikram. So overall, I rated his team a 35. Which is right on that, good and really good. It's right in between. It's not as low as good, but it's not as high as really good. I think it's in between. As I said earlier, I think his team is a very anti-U team. It really slows the opponent down and really stops the opponent doing from what he wants to do or what she wants to do. So great draft, scary draft, honestly. That Bulu is just, an overwhelming Pokemon. It's like Rillaboom on steroids. So, with access to, Leech Seed and Grassy Surge, Swords Dance, Bulk Up, being a Fairy type as well, his core is really strong. There isn't too many holes in Vikram's team, and I hope my rating did it justice, because I think he's got a good team. Last thing I want to mention before I head out here, guys, is last thing I want to mention to Vikram is I'd really like to see a Mega Banette set with Rest and Sleep Talk and utilize that Prankster. I think that would net you some pretty good wins and probably keep your differential quite high, because Mega Banette has some good bulk, and to have Curse and Calm Mind to boost its bulk even more and attack, I think you could go really far with that. So last thing I want to mention to everybody here, though, my ratings are not be all end all. I'm not going super deep into every single Pokemon like I would when I'm versing them. I'm just kind of trying to do something that's fun and enjoyable, and just like a short little team analysis on what I see and what can help them and what can help people verse these teams. So I hope you guys enjoy these. Hope I'm getting better, and on to the next one. Thanks, guys.